Welcome to Oracle Hyperion Financial Reporting Studio Training, brought to you by Cervelo. Cervelo is a leading professional services firm focused on business analytics and enterprise performance management. We're partnered with the category-leading software providers in each of these, including being a platinum partner with Oracle. My name is Louisa Schmays, and today I will be guiding you through how to build a basic report. Let's get started. To begin, open Oracle Hyperion Financial Reporting Studio, which I will abbreviate as HFR for the remainder of this presentation. Log in using your username, password, and server information. Your server information should be provided to you by your client or whomever directed you to this training. Proceed by hitting the OK button. To start a new report, select File, New, and Report. Before we start to build the report, let's quickly review the icons that can be found in the HFR toolbar. The grid icon to the far left creates a new report. The folder icon opens a report or object. The save icon saves a report. The next icon opens our Explorer view. Explorer is where your folder structure lives. The print icon will print your report. The next icon over is a PDF preview of your report, and the web page icon is an HTML preview. The next section in the toolbar is used to insert objects into the report. The first icon allows you to create a grid. The ABC icon inserts text. The image icon inserts an image or logo, and the chart icon can be used to create a chart. Now that we've reviewed the toolbar, let's begin building. We'll start by inserting a grid. You must insert a grid to outline where your report content is going to appear. Please note the grid must be inserted below the header section, outlined with a black border. Select the grid icon and size it. As soon as you do so, HFR will prompt you to either select or create a database connection. For the purpose of this training, we will connect to an existing database connection by clicking OK. Upon selecting a connection, you'll be taken to the dimension layout screen. Here, you must drag and drop each dimension to be in the point of view, pages, columns, or rows. Please note, each dimension must exist somewhere in the report. In this training, we'll look to replicate a net income statement. For this, we will need period, year, an entity in the columns, segments in the pages, and account in the rows. We will leave HSP rates, currency, scenario, and version in the point of view. Once we are finished, click OK. Our next step will be to define the members in each dimension. We will start with the account dimension. You are able to bring up the member selection screen by double-clicking the dimension. From the screen, you can either manually select an item by drilling into the account, such as net income, or if you are looking to select multiple objects under a parent, you can do so by selecting the Functions tab and then selecting the appropriate familial relationship. In this particular case, it's children of, and adding it to the Selected Items field. Immediately, you'll be asked to add the parent. You can either type the member name or alias of the parent in the search bar. This particular search bar is not case sensitive. Or you can also search for it using the lookup button, which can be found to the right-hand side. Selecting the lookup button will bring up the Edit Member Parameter Value screen. Here, you can drill into the account hierarchy to find the parent you are looking for. In our case, we will be selecting net income, and then click OK. After doing this, we should see net income populate in the value field. If you wish to include the parent in your grid, simply select the Inclusive checkbox and hit OK. Remove account from the selected value screen, and now click OK again. Let's now move on to the member selection of our column set. Select period, drill into total, year, select Q1, remove period, and select OK. If you wish to allow your report users to drill in on a member, you can do so by single-clicking the member and selecting Allow Expansion in the Column Properties toolbar. This will allow users to expand Q1 to also see the months that fall under it. While we are here, let's also allow expansion on Children of Net Income. Moving back to defining our dimensions, let's select Year. For the purpose of this report, we will be selecting a substitution variable. Substitution variables are a key feature of HFR because they greatly reduce maintenance for report builders. In most cases, substitution variables are input to the connecting database by an administrator. Inserting a substitution variable such as current year will save a report builder from having to go into every report they have and editing the year field every new budget cycle. Ideally, substitution variables should allow a report builder to create a regular report once and never have to edit it again. So, with that in mind, let's add a substitution variable for current year. Let's go ahead and remove year, and then click OK. Let's now move on to defining entity. Here, we'll be adding a prompt. Creating a prompt allows users to quickly select information pertinent to them. It can also greatly improve the time it takes for a report to generate. To insert a prompt for entity, go to your member selection screen and select Prompt for Entity and remove Entity. Once you click OK, you'll be asked to define your prompt by selecting the default member in Member Choice. For our purposes, we will be selecting Total Geography as our default member, remove Entity, and click OK. For our choices list, we will also be selecting Total Geography as well as all of its children. Please note, the default member must also be selected in the choices list. Finally, you'll also be given the choice to display these items using their member name, alias, or both. For our purposes, we will select alias and now click OK. Let's now edit our Pages member selection. Let's click on Pages and then click on Segments to the left of our toolbar. One thing to note is that the first item in your selection will act as your default page selection. So, with that in mind, we will select Total and remove Segments. We will also go into our Functions tab, select Descendants of, and type in Total. Click OK, and click OK again. With our rows and columns in place, we'll move on to our Point of Views, or POV. One thing that makes POV a little different is that they can be displayed directly in the report as toggleable options or completely hidden. If an item should always be listed in your report as static, we recommend hiding it through POV. You do this by clicking the top left cell and checking the Grid Point of View in the Grid Properties toolbar. You'll notice that those POVs can now be found above our pages. From here, you are given the option to leave the item as User Point of View, which would keep it at the top of the report as a toggleable dimension, or you can define the item, which will remove it from the report entirely. For our purposes, we will leave all POVs as toggleable options. Now that we've defined all the members, let's preview our progress in HTML view. Immediately, you'll notice that we're prompted for entity with total geography as the default choice, just as we defined it. Also, we can click the magnifying glass to its right to review our choices if we wanted to change the selection. We'll leave total geography as is and click OK to continue to our report. Immediately, a few things stick out. Our accounts field is populating its member name, which is a numerical value, which obviously isn't very user-friendly. You'll also see pound missing in our value field, which is a bit of an eyesore. You could also potentially see pound zero or pound error in your report, all of which can be suppressed. Let's go ahead and make those changes. In order to suppress pound missing, select the top left cell, then in the Grid Properties toolbar, select Suppression. Here, you'll be given the default values for zero values, no data, and error. Your client should outline how they'd like for these to be displayed. For our purposes, we will be representing zero values with a 0, no data with a dash, and error with ERR. With that done, let's look into formatting our report. If you would like for members to have specific formatting, you must put them in their own row or column. For our example, we'll highlight net income. To insert a new row, we need to right-click the cell below our members, then choose Insert Row and select Data. Immediately, you'll see that HFR has created a new row and copied over the member selection from the last data row. We'll go into our member field, drill into net income, select it, and remove children of net income, and click OK. Since we'll want this to read as net income instead of its member number, we'll single-click it and select alias. We'll also want to do the same thing on children of net income, as well as pages. Since originally we had our first selection as inclusive to net income, we must go into the member and uncheck inclusive. Click OK, and click OK once again. If we had not done so, net income would populate in the account rows twice. Now, let's highlight net income. To do this, we'll select net income, right-click, and select Format. Since we are highlighting it, we will go into the Borders and Shading tab, click on the Select button, and choose the color we wish to shade it. In this particular case, we will be selecting orange. We'll then move on to inserting a top border. Borders are done to very similar how they are done in Excel. Another useful tab that can be found in the formatting screen is the Numbers tab. Let's go ahead and select all of our data. The Numbers tab actually allows you to change how a number is scaled, how a negative number is represented, and if you'd like a negative number displayed in red. For our purposes, let's format all cells to show negative numbers in parentheses as well as in red. I'm going to have to go over, all right, so you're going to have to cut it because the changes didn't say for net income. I'll just redo that. Did you start there? Now, let's highlight net income. To do this, we'll select net income, right-click the cell, and select Format. Let's go into the Borders and Shading, click the Select box to change the shading, and add a top border. Another useful tab that can be found in the formatting screen is the Numbers tab. This allows you to change things like how a number is scaled, how a negative number is represented, and if you'd like, the thing didn't save it. I have to click apply. Alright. One more time. Sorry. Now, let's highlight net income. To do this, we'll select net income, right-click, and select Format. Let's go into our Borders and Shading tab, click the Select button, pick our color, click OK, and add a top border. And now, let's click Apply to make sure our changes have saved. Another useful tab that can be found in the formatting screen is the Numbers tab. This allows you to change things like how a number is scaled, how a negative number is represented, and if you'd like a negative number to be displayed in red. Let's go ahead and select all of our data and format the cells to show negative numbers both in parentheses as well as in red. Click OK. For further formatting changes, we can bold a member by highlighting it and selecting the Bold button at the top of the toolbar. Also in this toolbar, you're given options such as italicizing, underlining, centering, and indentation. We recommend always using indentation, especially on children. If you'd like to create a space between the row and column set, you can do so by inserting a text field. Highlight the column you'd like it to appear in front of, right-click, select Insert Column, and select Text. The column width will default to the previous column's width. To edit the width quickly, we can click on the text field in Column Properties and select the appropriate width. We recommend 15 for width on blank columns. While we're here, let's widen the length of the first column to 200 to make sure all the names fit on one line. Text fields can also be used to add headers to sections. In this report, let's add a header above our row set. We'll first insert a text field above our row by clicking Insert Row and selecting Text. Let's title this Summary FY. To call it out, we'll bold it, go into our formatting screen, and change the shading to purple. We will finally add borders all around it and click OK to confirm our settings. One small issue you might have noticed is that at the bottom of the report, our text field inherited the highlighted formatting properties of row 2 as opposed to being blank. To change this, we'll select the cell, click Format, then we'll remove the borders and select white for the shading. Let's click OK to confirm our settings. We are also going to want to highlight Q1. Let's first bold and center it using the toolbar icons. Then we should go into our formatting screen and change the borders and shading. For our purposes, we'll change the shading to blue and put borders on all sides. Again, let's click OK to save our changes. It's always a good idea to put a border separating the row set. Let's highlight all of our members in the columns, right-click, select Format, and add a right border. Click OK. Next, let's highlight column B, select Format, and put a left border as well as a right border. Click OK. To this point, we've only put Q1 in the report, even though we know the report calls to have Q2, Q3, and Q4. This is an excellent opportunity to show how useful copying and pasting can be. Select both the text and the Q1 row set by holding the Shift and then right-click, select Copy, and select Paste. We must now repeat this 2 more times so that there is a total of 4 text and data rows. As you can see, columns B, D, F, and H all say Q1 for the period. To change a member selection quickly, you can type in the address bar located right below our toolbar. So, we'll select Q1 in column D, go to our address bar, type in Q2, and then hit the green check mark to accept changes. I'll then repeat this for Q3, as well as Q4. One thing to note about the address bar is that it is both case and space sensitive. We use the copy and paste feature in instances like this because it saves a great deal of time by not having to go into each cell and having to make the appropriate formatting changes. Had we not used copy and paste, we would have had to go into the top and bottom cell of each row 3 separate times to make them bold and also change the borders and shading. With multiple data columns in the report, now is a good time to review inserting formulas. For this report, we'll insert a variance. You may have noticed that to the left of the address bar is a drop-down menu that features commonly used reporting formulas. For this report, we'll select Variance. We'll click Insert Column, and then select Formula. We will now select the drop-down and scroll down to the Variance option. In the parentheses, we then need to put the columns we'd like to compare in brackets. For our purposes, we'll be looking at the variance between Q3 and Q4. To do this, we will type in brackets H, comma, brackets F. We must now click the green check mark to confirm the settings. As you can see, the formula we created is also displayed as our header. In order to change it, select the cell and select Custom Heading in the Grid Properties toolbar. Here, you can type in the desired name. In this case, we will call this Q3 versus Q4. Let's now change the shading by going into our formatting screen and selecting a different color. Click OK, and click OK once again. Also, we'll want some separation from our Q4 and variance columns. So let's go ahead and copy a text box and paste it between those 2 columns. Let's now go ahead and preview our report. Looking at our report, current year and entity seems repetitive. We can actually hide these items by going back into HFR, highlighting the entire row, and selecting Hide Always in the Row Properties toolbar. They should no longer appear in the report. With the grid done, let's now insert a title. Click on the ABC icon to insert a text box. Size the text box to how you'd like it to appear in the report, and type in your heading. We'll call this Net Income Statement, Sample Company. Let's now bold and center it. To change the font properties of a text box, we will select Format at the very top and then select Font. Here, you'll be able to edit the font style, and sizing. Let's go ahead and change our font size to 18. And then click OK. HFR can also help to align your objects. You can do so by selecting the object, right-clicking. For horizontal position on form, we will select center. We will then select the object again, and for vertical position on form, we will select top. Let's now go ahead and add a logo. We do so by selecting the Insert an Image icon, sizing it, selecting the icon, and clicking Open. To auto-fit your image, click the image and then select Stretch in the Image Properties toolbar. If you plan on using this image often, we recommend saving it as an object. You can do this by right-clicking the object, selecting Save Object, navigate to the folder where you would like your object to be saved, name it, and then click on Link to Source Object. Selecting this means that if you were to save over the file, the object would change in every report it is featured in. This way, if a logo were to change, a report builder would simply need to make one edit as opposed to going into each report, deleting the old logo, and inserting a new one. Let's go ahead and click Save. With all things finalized, we'll need to save our report. Let's click File, Save As, navigate to the appropriate folder, and give the report a descriptive name. Finally, click Save. Let's go ahead and preview our report in Workspace. Upon opening Workspace, you may be asked to log in using your credentials. Once logged in, click Explore, navigate to the appropriate folder, and double-click on your report. Again, we'll see the prompt that we have built. Click OK. Once your report is loaded, you will see that we have Allowed Expansion, which allows us to drill into our accounts, as well as our periods. Our page drop-down allows us to go through our selected segments. We can quickly see how much income was made through televisions or through electronics. In this case, all expenses were booked to no segment. In addition, we can also toggle the different point of views at the top of the screen. With our report done and functionality tested, we know our report is complete. This marks the conclusion of our reporting demo. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the HFR training brought to you by Cervelo. If you would like to know more about Cervelo and the variety of services we provide, please visit us at www.mycervelo.com.